Okay, welcome to another edition of Fantasy Dream Homes, and today we're going to Portsmouth, New Hampshire, and that's going to be on the East Coast, and we're going to zoom right in here, and boom, we're going to stop right there, and right there we can see the outline of the state of New Hampshire. I have never been to New Hampshire. Well, actually that's not true. I've just passed through very briefly. But it's a state I would like to spend more time in. I've only been to Boston, then on up to Maine, and I've only crossed through very briefly. But, so here's your state of New Hampshire. It's bordered on the north by Quebec, the province of Quebec in Canada, and on the west by the state of Vermont. And then on the south you have Massachusetts, and to the east you have Maine, state of Maine, and then the Atlantic Ocean right here. And Portsmouth is a coastal seaport village, about 21,000 people. And it's also a popular summer destination. And today's tourism website that we're going to be using is GoPortsmouth. nh.com, and this will be in the show notes, just like I would try to put everything in the show notes. So Portsmouth sits on the Piscataqua River, and it has significant examples of colonial, Georgian, and federal style houses. And when we talk about those kind of things, I want to tell you that you should go to our Fantasy Dream Homes Pinterest page, because there is so much in there that you might like. And when you go to our boards and you scroll down and you see all the different kinds of things that you'd love to see in Fantasy Dream Homes, like the ultimate master bathroom, shower ideas, walk-in closet, emporiums, front doors that dazzle, amazing front entrances, kitchen, pantries. We've got it all covered here. The landscaping, we have high-end appliances, and here's this section called architectural style, and we click in there and you see the different types of homes that you will see throughout the world: log cabins, contemporary style, craftsman, and you will see what the federal style homes that are going to appear in Portsmouth, and you'll see the Georgian style. And for example, if we click into Georgian style, there's just all different kinds of Georgian style homes that you can look at. So we invite you to visit the Pinterest page. It's going to have practically everything you would want in looking for luxury homes, like fantastic fireplaces. You see some of these absolutely magnificent fireplaces in homes that it's worth taking a good closer look at our Pinterest page. So that's our advertising for the Pinterest page. And going on to the climate in Portsmouth, it's more of a cooler climate, because if you look at these summer temperatures in here in the northern hemisphere, the summer, 3 hottest months are always going to be June, July, August. And when your spring months are right here, April, May, and your fall months are September, October, and November. So if you look at the temperatures for the 3 hottest months, it really doesn't get that hot. I mean, in 79 degrees, which is 26 Celsius, that, if you live in Phoenix, you probably wouldn't even turn your air conditioner on for that. It is nothing compared to all the high months in a lot of most other states and most other cities. So keep in mind, but you know, it's a very temperate climate. You know, there's nothing wrong with that. It's actually quite pleasant to be in the summer. You're gonna have some colder temperatures in the winter, you know, just freezing temperatures. These are averages, so it gets cool enough in the winter. So I just wanted to take a minute and talk to you about the fall season in New Hampshire and Portsmouth, New Hampshire. And I wanted to talk about the foliage. And the foliage is all the deciduous trees whose leaves will turn colors. And when you look at these pictures, it looks like they're touched up, but honestly, if you've got any kind of high def camera or the camera on your phone, you're going to see that these colors are true. And that's why it is worth visiting the northeastern United States during the fall, and you will see spectacular colors. And when you see them in person, they're even better than the photographs. Particularly the states of northern New York, Vermont, New Hampshire, Massachusetts, and Maine. Those states, if you catch them in the fall, you will see spectacular colors like you've never seen in your entire life. And just to be able to drive down these highways and see the magnificent colors that Mother Nature adorns herself in is so worth it. And you can find calendars by searching for fall foliage in Google, and you can see when the predictions are for when the leaves are going to turn in various parts of the United States. Okay, so there's one other place I want to tell you about, and it is Mount Washington in New Hampshire. And let's take a look at Mount Washington. There's something very significant about Mount Washington. And let me just get a little closer here. Okay, I know it doesn't look like much from here, but there's something very significant about Mount Washington. And let me click here to show you some pictures. So Mount Washington is the highest peak in the northeastern United States at approximately 6,300 feet or 1,900 meters. And it's the most topographically prominent mountain east of the Mississippi River. So what's the significance of that? Well, it means it sticks out really highly above everything else around it in the topography, the land around it. So the mountain is notorious for its erratic weather. And as a matter of fact, on the afternoon of April 12th, 1934, the Mount Washington Observatory, and they have an observatory that's at the top of the mountain. And here you can see it in the summer, and this is the observatory in the winter. The Mount Washington Observatory recorded a wind speed of 231 miles per hour, or 372 kilometers per hour at the summit. And that's the world record. And it was the world record from 1934 until 1996. But the only wind that's been recorded higher in the world has been in a hurricane, or tornadoes. So Mount Washington still holds the record for the highest measured wind speed, not associated with a tornado or tropical cyclone. I'm going to show you a video here. There's tons of them that are on YouTube, and one of them has Richard Hammond did a piece up here. It's the windiest place on earth, and it's worth watching. But I'm just gonna click on this one right here. This is typical of many winter nights at the Mount Washington Observatory. And this shows you a guy, he's up there. And what he's trying to do, even though these wind instruments, they have heat elements all over them, this wind is blowing so hard, a lot of times it's blowing well over 100 miles an hour. And hear how loud it's getting. It's 140 miles an hour. He's got to pound this. Now, he's standing behind the building where the wind is protecting him on the lee side of the building. And he's trying to get this ice off of these wind instruments. And this is what they're doing up there all the time. And I'm just going to pause there. But Mount Washington is an extraordinary place, and you can visit it during the summer. You can drive up there. You can drive right up this highway right here, and this is where the actual observatory is. And let me see if I can get closer. Okay, so right there is where that guy, he was standing back here, okay, and the winds are coming screaming through here at 100 to 140 miles an hour. Just so you know, I mean, about once you get up to be about 70 miles an hour and above, it's strong enough wind to knock any adult off their feet and send them rolling, and send them airborne. Children, you have to be very careful with children. 40 to 50 mile an hour winds are not to knock over a child and send them rolling. Extremely dangerous to keep in mind. So the windiest place on earth, Mountain Washington in New Hampshire. Now, one other thing I wanted to talk about was home affordability. CNN Money here did a thing about home buyers clueless about mortgages. And it's not just the United States, it's all over the world. You're buying what is probably going to be the most expensive thing you will ever own in your life. It's not going to be the most expensive, it's also going to be the most valuable to you. So what we're finding here is, among other things, it says all too often buyers focus on negotiating a lower home price and ignore the importance of finding the right loan. Buyers should always shop multiple lenders and compare rates and fees and read lender reviews in order to find the best loan for their situation. One example, 34% of respondents believe lenders are required by law to charge the same fees to all clients for credit reports, appraisals, and the like. That's wrong. Fees from various bank to bank can be negotiated. So, one of the things you're going to hear me say over and over is do your homework. Now, for example, in the United Kingdom, you have what's called the stamp duty land tax. And you need to know about this when you're buying a home. I think the current rate is about 131,000 pounds that there is no fee, but everything beyond that, the fees range from 2% to up to 12% for the cost of the real estate. Well, that's a lot of money, and you need to know about what the stamp duty is going to be for the home you're going to be buying, something to consider. Another thing, you really want to know the rules and regulations for buying real estate in whatever country you're shopping. So in Mexico, it's very different. So Americans and other foreigners are allowed to buy property in Mexico, but they're not going to own that outright unless they're a Mexican citizen. There are going to be areas of the country that are prohibited from them to own it outright, and they'll have to own it through a trust and through a bank, and they'll have to hire a Mexican attorney to do this for them. And for example here, and this is coming from MexicoOnline.com. So it says right here, a Mexican attorney should be involved to draw up the contracts. The Mexican Constitution prohibits direct ownership of real estate by foreigners in what has come to be known as the, quote, restricted zone, unquote. The restricted zone encompasses all land located within 100 kilometers of any Mexican border, or 62 miles, and within 50 kilometers or 31 miles of any Mexican coastline. Well, where are most foreigners likely to be buying a lot of property in Mexico? It's going to be on the coast, for coastal houses and stuff. Well, you can't just buy that property yourself. You're going to have to involve several Mexican entities in order to own that property. This is what I mean when I say do your homework. You're going to find tons of articles like this one, and I'll put these in the show notes. 5 tips for finding the best mortgage lenders. And, they tell you here, get your credit score in shape, know the mortgage lending landscape, get it pre-approved, blah, blah, blah. Right here, BBC News, house price calculator. Where can I afford to buy or rent? This is an excellent guide here. This is for the United Kingdom. And you could just put in, how many bedrooms, how much is your deposit, how much can you pay monthly, and they'll tell you the areas. And right here, the red areas are obviously going to be the most expensive. And so, anything even close to London or Harrogate, York. I love this map. Trafford. What is this one down here? Let's go down here. South Hams. So those are going to be your more expensive places in the United Kingdom to be buying property. Here we have, and I'll put in the show notes all kinds of, depending on your country, where you can look for home affordability. And this one is Quicken Loans, and there's dozens. I'm not trying to single out Quicken Loans. There are so many that provide these home affordability calculators, okay? But we talk about credit score, and credit score in the United States, it's something that's determined how your credit history in whether you've been on time with paying your loans and your bills and such. And it's a score assigned by lending institutions, and there are three big institutions that will be looking at your credit in the United States, and one of them is Equifax, and the other one is TransUnion, and the third one escapes me. I can't remember it at this time. But so here's your, if your credit score is in here, and that's something to be considered when you get a home loan for qualifying, they are definitely going to look at your credit score. Now, does it mean if your credit's bad that you can't get a home loan? No, absolutely not. As a matter of fact, a lot of them, the minimum score you can have is 640, which is right here or above. Even though it's considered bad, you can still qualify, but keep this in mind. The lower your credit score, the more you're going to pay on your mortgage, meaning the higher those interest rates are going to be. And this is an article, dozens will tell you this same thing. So you can certainly get a credit, a loan at with a score of 640, but you're going to pay much higher interest rates, and those interest rates add up in thousands and tens of thousands of dollars. And Investopedia says a credit score plays a key role in lenders' decisions to offer credit. People with credit scores below 640, for example, are generally considered to be a subprime borrowers. Lending institutions often charge interest on subprime mortgages at a rate higher than a conventional mortgage in order to compensate themselves for carrying more risk. They may also require a shorter repayment term or a cosigner for borrowers with a low credit score. Conversely, a credit score of 700 or above is generally considered good and may result in a borrower receiving lower interest rate, which results in them paying less money in interest over the life of a loan. So the point is, you want to do your homework when you are buying your house. And it's not just about knowing whether you can afford the house. That's just step one, or how much house you can afford. That's simply the absolute very beginning. You're going to have to do all kinds of things the further you get into the home buying process. And I'm going to make videos about these eventually. But, once you need to look at several houses, and you don't want to fall in love with one. Remember, don't love something that can't love you back. You want to look at several houses. You always want to keep an objective, almost emotionally removed way of looking at real estate. And you should look at several houses, and it's okay to like a lot of different houses, but you don't want to fall in love with a house, because you'll end up paying too much money, and you'll end up rushing through the process, and you'll do things like you won't hire a home inspector to inspect the home for damages that you can't see. You won't hire a surveyor to survey the property to make sure the home is all within its proper property limits. You won't hire an attorney or a solicitor, a real estate solicitor, to make sure that legally you're covered legally. You won't do your homework when looking for a real estate agent, trying to find the real estate agent who will do the best job for you. You're going to skip corners when you fall in love with a home. So do your homework way in advance, and you start with your finances, and ask yourself, how much home can I afford? And here in the United States, the lending institutions, banks, and mortgage companies, they use what's called the 2836 rule, which means, and they don't all do this, okay? And this is just in general, okay? It determines how much for home you can afford if you use the 2836 rule. And what the 2836 rule is, your monthly mortgage payment, and that's, it's called PITI or PITI, which stands for principal, the principal loan amount, plus the interest payments, the interest of the loan you get for the lending institution, the property taxes, that's where the T for taxes, plus the homeowner's insurance. And a lot of times you're not going to have a choice when you buy a home. It's going to be the lender, depending on the institution, they're going to figure in the cost of the homeowner's insurance, so it's going to be priced right in there. So principal, interest, taxes, and insurance, that is your entire mortgage payment. That amount should not exceed 28% of your gross monthly income. And your income is what you make on your income here in the United States before taxes are taken out. And then number two, the 36% of the 2836 rule is the total debts a household has. Those debts should not exceed 36% of its income. So total debt includes the mortgage payments that we just talked about, as well as any other debts, which can be car loans, student loans, or any other debts you or any other people that will legally be tied to this mortgage, such as your husband or your wife, okay, your spouse. Anybody who's going to be tied to this mortgage, they're going to be looking at their credit score, they're going to be looking at their debts as well as your debts. And so lending institutions will frequently use the 2836 rule to determine what kind of house you can afford. Okay, so today's real estate company that we're going to be using, and I try to mix it up a lot, is Trulia. Trulia.com, okay? I don't know. There's some things I like about Trulia and there's things I don't, and one of them is the pictures are too small. So, for example, let's take a look at this picture right here of this house. This is going to be our first house we take a look at. Right now, it's going for a little over $2 million, and it's got 3 bedrooms, 4 baths at 3,200, almost 3,300 square feet. And I'll put all the conversions in up there so you can see them. But watch what happens when I click on this picture. Look at how small this got. Come on, Truly, are you kidding me? That's as big as you're going to let me see the pictures? Well, that's the case. So that's, a lot of Trulia's competitors are giving me nice big pictures to work with. Not so with Trulia. Okay, so let's look at our second house here on Fantasy Dream Homes. This particular house is going for about 2.4 million. 4 bedrooms, 5 bathrooms. Interior space looking at about 5,700 square feet. Lot size is about a quarter of an acre. And let's check out this Fantasy Dream Home. All right, so I'm interested to hear what you thought about that fantasy dream home. So I'm looking at that price, 2.4 million. I'm struggling to comprehend why. Looked at the area where this house is being sold. It's right here, and I thought, are the other prices similar in the neighborhood? Well, not really. You got 1.25 million, 1.89 million, and these are all under a million right here. So what is it about this house that is driving it up to all the way up to 2.4 million? And when you look at some of these pictures, I mean, yeah, it's a great neighborhood and everything. Not a fantastic neighborhood. It is close to the water, but it's not on the water. Why? Why is it a $2.4 million home? Looking at this kitchen, these are not high-end appliances. There you have a bottom freezer, a small refrigerator with a bottom freezer. It's about 18 cubic feet. That's small. You have a single oven, not a double wall oven, just a single oven there. You have a built-in cooktop. So the appliances, there's nothing fantastic about them. You don't even have. I mean, I don't know for sure, but I'll bet you anything that's not a real wood floor. That's a laminate flooring. So that is not. There's nothing high end about that. You got a dishwasher, a sink. And I'm just looking at the overall construction here. You don't have any crown molding up here. This is middle class home style, not even upper middle class. It's middle class home style. Nothing at all to indicate why it's even a $1 million home, let alone a $2 million home. Forget about the furnishings because you're not buying the furnishings. I'm going to show you something else here that I saw. You know, yeah, so here, right here, you have acoustic tiling. It's not even a wood paneled ceiling or anything like that. Why on earth is this a $2.4 million home? And maybe you think, hey, it's in Portsmouth, and maybe that's reason enough. And you might be right. I'm struggling to figure out why this is. I I don't know. It's not even on a huge piece of land. So interested to hear your thoughts. Okay, so let's go on to our third house here on Fantasy Dream Homes. This particular house is going for 2.5 million. It's 2 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms. It's about a little over 1,200 square feet. The lot it sits on is small enough that they're not even a quoted acreage. It sits on 3,135 square feet, or about 291 square meters. Built in 2007. This sale also includes a 6-unit rental property and a 13 by 22 garage barn. So keep that in mind, and that's why we're probably at the $2.5 million price point. Let's check out this fantasy dream home. Well, with that house, obviously you saw the last several pictures. Those were pictures of the rental units that come along with the home. And again, it's kind of a head scratch to me why we're at a $2.5 million price range. So maybe you can tell me in the comments. All right, moving forward. Okay, so our fourth and final fancy dream home. This one is 3 bedrooms, 4 baths, about 3,800 plus square feet of interior space. It sits on a little over 3,100 square feet of land. This one was built in 1850. So let's check out this fantasy dream home. Okay, call me crazy, but I absolutely loved those bold and fierce use of colors. Love that doorway. That is just great. Isn't that? I just think that's beautiful. I love it. Absolutely love it. There's plenty of you out there I know who absolutely hate it, and there might even be neighbors across the street from this place who absolutely can't stand that. I just love color. Love color. Let me see some more. We saw some very interesting color usage here. There you go. Look at that blue. I think that's beautiful. I love the color of that door. You know, instead of your typical boring colors. And I couldn't even tell you what shades these are, but it's probably even more dramatic when you're inside. Look at that. Look at that blue. Oh, here we go. Here we go with the yellow and the blue again. Look at that. That is, I just think that's crazy cool. Look at that. That's, you know, each room a different color. Let's go for it, you know. Don't be shy about the colors. Let's get back to the kitchen. Oh, yeah. Look at that yellow. I love it. That is great. What a way to wake up in the morning. Talk about eye-opener. Hello. Good morning. Yeah, this is great. This is great. Well, I'm interested to hear your comments, see what you think. Share, you know, please share. And hope you enjoyed that fourth and final fantasy dream home. Okay, so that wraps it up for another edition of Fantasy Dream Homes. We hope you please check out our other social media pages, especially our page on Pinterest. We think you'll find extra value there. If you like what you see, please support us on Patreon. And if you can't afford financial support, that's quite all right. You can show your support by liking and sharing our videos and subscribing and become part of our community. And you can comment. Please comment and tell us how we can improve. There's always room for improvement. As always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time here on Fantasy Dream Homes. Keep smiling, everybody. Bye-bye.